Welcome back. Now it's time for our weekly market update with Catherine Murray, host of The Buck Stops Here. Take it away, Catherine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly market recap. I am Catherine Murray. Well, we are seeing mixed North American equity markets today, but this follows a very big rally on Thursday, and it looks as though the S&P 500, NASDAQ, as well as the Dow are all on track for weekly gains. The bulls are very, very much in the driver's seat, and that's really being driven by the results we saw from tech company NVIDIA, which blew past investor expectations yesterday. And in fact, we are seeing that company's market cap hit $2 trillion for the first time. All of this really driven by the continued demand that we're seeing for AI. So that's really giving way for a lot of momentum and excitement within the marketplace, specifically within tech and semiconductors. But broadly, the demand and growth is certainly being taken of note by investors today. Away from that, of course, when we think about the market and the narrative within the marketplace, we've got very, very strong earnings, but we also have a U.S. Federal Reserve that continues to be a little bit more hawkish. We've heard that within their Fed speak this week, but also with the FOMC minutes. What does that mean? It means that they are likely going to wait a little bit longer before they lower rates. They want to make sure that inflation is in fact under control. So we'll wait to see what comes next with that and more Fed speak. But at the same time, even though that's a bit of a negative within the marketplace in terms of market sentiment, on the other side, and this is why the market keeps moving higher, we do have very strong earnings growth and also economic data that sometimes is coming in better than expected. Away from that, I'd also note that Goldman Sachs as well as UBS did increase their S&P 500 targets, 5,200 for the S&P for Goldman Sachs. It's a year number, of course. And just one other stock to perhaps watch, Carvana. It's been a bit of a followed stock, I would say. It's up by about 36% today on the back of their most recent results, where they're seeing some improving metrics. Importantly, what to watch for next week as it relates to those U.S. markets, we'll get to the Canadian markets in a second, is the PCE number next Thursday. That's the personal consumption expenditure. That is the key inflation metric that the U.S. Federal Reserve watches very, very closely to see where inflation's at. And that'll give us an indication in terms of if and when they'll lower rates. Away from that, as we look at the Canadian market, it is up by about 0.7% today, following a nice strong rally on Thursday. A couple of important points from a metric perspective to watch. Fourth quarter Canadian corporate profits up by about 2.7%, so not extreme growth, that is for sure, but perhaps maybe a little bit better than where we've seen the GDP number come in. Also, retail sales a little bit on the mixed front. Inflation did come in a little bit lower than expected, leading many investors to ponder what the BOC, the Bank of Canada, will do at their next meeting. We will wait to see on that front. Part of that will also be dictated by the GDP. We'll get the fourth quarter Canadian GDP next Thursday, so watch that very closely as well. Keep in mind, third quarter was down 1.1%. Expectations are for some improvement for the fourth quarter, but it will be a bit of an indicator in terms of what the BOC will do. Of course, they want to make sure that there isn't stalled out, stunted growth, which is perhaps what we have seen, flat growth in Canada. So all of that will dictate what the BOC does. I'd also just highlight as well from an earnings perspective, Loblaws did come in better than expected. So showing some nice growth there as well. And of course, there's concern that the grocers are part to blame for the increased inflation that so many Canadians are feeling. I'll leave it there. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Catherine. For more market coverage, you can tune in to The Buck Stops Here Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern.